Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Alex, I wrote something on the site yesterday. Go check it out at sportstalkatl.com. And it was based off a tweet from David O'Brien that came over the weekend. And it was it's like, how plugged in is David O'Brien? I'm not saying he's not plugged in, or he is plugged in, or he did hear this, or he didn't hear this. But he basically said, Marcell Ozuna, we can go back. Domestic violence really sucked in 2021. DUI, or didn't play 2021. DUI sucked in 2022. Could have released him at any point over all these things. There are even reports after the DUI from Ken Rosenthal, Buster Olney, that they were planning on releasing him. They ended up not releasing him. Then he sucks to start 2023. Everybody is calling for his head. He's got booze raining down. Everyone's like, oh, he needs to be released. He needs to be released. But David O'Brien says he's since heard that there were no conversations, and I'm pretty sure he said no conversations about him being released. I have a hard time believing there were absolutely zero conversations about him being released.
Before you even continue, we know there were conversations because a deal for Patrick Corbin fell through or didn't fall through. They didn't even want it. The Braves were considering it. Like, we know that for a fact. So I don't know what this no conversations is. It's just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, unless I guess like the release, yes, there were definitely also substantiated reports from guys like Mark Bowe and other people that said that the Braves are trying to trade Marcell Ozuna for Patrick Corbin, which is essentially a release because you're taking on an awful. I would almost rather have released him than take on Patrick Corbin's $35 million. But hey, the Braves do believe in their reclamation projects. I mean, listen, the good news is he wasn't released. He's turned into a top 10 player in OPS this season. He's one of the best designated. He might be the best designated hitter in all of baseball, not named Shohei Ohtani. But this tweet or whatever, I don't know if I want to call it just a tweet or a report, but it's from The Athletic, David O'Brien, who is a reporter, basically saying that they were not considering releasing him. And maybe they were just saying maybe he meant like not considering releasing him this year after his tough April. Like that wasn't happening. But I mean, dude, like I backed Marcell Ozuna for as long as anybody.
We all did.
But even I was saying after April, like, all right, it might be time. And listen, we got lucky. They hung on. It worked out. It worked out perfectly. But you can't tell me, like, with a straight face, if you know baseball at all, after April, you weren't kind of thinking, all right, well, maybe this has run its course here in Atlanta.
I said it multiple times, and I'm not going to be the one guy who, I told you so by any means, but I could go pull up the tweets right now. At the end of April, the Braves were already up like 4 or 5 games. And the offense had already shown, it was going to be a juggernaut again, even without Marcell Ozuna. And I have tweets where I was saying there's no way he's going to get out of the lineup or released at this point because it's just it's a tiny sample size. The Braves are already 5 games up. The rest of the offense was unbelievably good at that point already a month into the season. And, for all those things. And then I also added that you can see it in the dugout how important Marcell Ozuna is to those international guys. It's very clear that he's that mentor. He's the oldest. He's the veteran in that group, and it's very clear that he's a gel. He's a glue piece in that dugout. And I'm not going to say I told you so. I clearly, if he had another month of that, it was, let's just DFA him. Like it's that easy. He's taken up at bats that we could be giving to Travis d'Arnaud, Sean Murphy, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, when everybody was freaking out after like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it was just far too early. And yes, the track record of the past 2 years was, very concerning, except for the track record his whole career was very encouraging. So, we can play the I told you so game, but we definitely, as far as like Braves fans in general, defended, just said, just give it some time, Look at all this his track record showed that he would eventually get out of it. Little did we know, behind the scenes, he was working his tail off. He was providing veteran leadership to the other guys. You heard Michael Harris credit him for him getting out of his slump, telling him, Michael, you're the guy. You're a great center fielder. So it just goes to show, as Braves fans, me and you watch just about every single game, and we still don't know anything because we don't get to see what's going on behind the scenes and how important Marcell Ozuna is to this team.
Yeah, I think the only listen, there are 3 things that saved Marcell Ozuna. One being that he did show up to work the entire offseason. And you Chipper Jones, I believe, came out and said it. The guy just showed up to work and he was working his butt off and he was hearing all the noise. He never wavered despite being down. And even those tweets, I mean, there were tweets coming out where he was basically apologizing to the fans, like after that first month, that how he's been playing and just telling them like, hey, I'm still working. Like, we're going to get it figured out. And everyone was like, okay, Marcell, we're going to get it figured out. And listen, I understand why fans were just ready to cut the cord. Like most teams, I would say 90% of teams would have cut the cord. The Braves, as you said, were in a position where they didn't need to cut the cord. And also they didn't have a better option at DH to where they could just slide someone in and just like be better. So the best version, and we said this before the season, the best version of the Atlanta Braves is one with Marcell Ozuna hitting like he is now. And I think we can all agree on that. The guy's been amazing. Now this lineup's historically good. It went from really good to historically good because now you got another 40 home run guy in the middle of your lineup. But yeah, I think the three things, the work ethic, just who he is in the clubhouse and the relationships he had. I know Ronald Acuna has come out backing him in the offseason. Those guys hang out and stuff. Like, they are friends off the field and the relationships he had with those guys. And then the third thing is just the lack of better options and the money attached to him and just kind of the commitment they already had to him. And you're just like, we don't have any better. We might as well see if he can figure it out. If he doesn't figure it out another month, he doesn't figure it out another 2 months. All right, we cut the cord. But after 1 month, that definitely played a factor. And listen, thank God it happened. It's worked out perfectly for the Braves. It's another thing that the Braves have done correctly in terms of building their roster. And, you know, it's probably a primary reason why we're sitting here talking. But despite the fact that we are missing Charlie Morton, that we're still like, hey, we can win this dang thing, because he's a big reason why this lineup is just on another level than everybody else.
That's absolutely true. I don't know if you remember this. It was one of, it was that April month. I don't know if Braves fans remember it, but I went to a few games. I went to like the first 6 or 7 home games there were. And I don't feel bad for a guy who makes $18 million a year. I don't feel bad for a guy who's made those mistakes, drinking and driving, the domestic violence. I'm not excusing any of that stuff, and I don't feel bad for it. But I just couldn't help but feel bad for the guy. He's in his home stadium, and he's struggling, and it's already hard enough at the plate to hit a baseball. You're struggling. And then you hear this, your home fans just raining boos on you. Do you remember me saying that? And you and Jake were like, I mean, yeah, I don't feel bad for the guy. And it's hard to feel bad for a guy who's making $18 million.
I don't think I said that. I think I wrote that several times. I said it was hard not to feel bad for him, even after everything that's been happening, because it just like he walked up to the plate and like he just didn't have the same, like you see Marcell Ozuna, the
confidence
now,
where he's like
he's smiling, he's having fun. And it's just like, he was walking up to the plate, raining boos, dejected. Every time a called strike, he was getting booed. He was just trying to stay in the zone, trying to do his thing. And it was just, it was relentless. And I do not blame anyone for doing it. I do not blame anyone for doing it. I understand why they were doing it. And Marcell Ozuna, frankly, probably deserved it. Like, he probably deserved it for everything that happened, not just on the field, off the field. But, you know, it is a credit to him for being able to deal with all that and come out the other side having one of the best years of his entire career. I do remember that. I mean, I felt it was hard not to, even the people that were really hard on Marcell Ozuna, I think at a certain point were like, dang, it almost feels like
we're just kicking this guy while he's down, guys. He's still.
They were trying to get him out of Atlanta. And like I said, I do not blame any Atlanta Braves fans that want him out of Atlanta. He probably deserved to be hit. Most teams he would not have been around. It worked out. It's a big reason why the Braves are going to be good. Coming up after the break, Vaughn Grissom, how does he fit in 2024?